Dear members of Indian Society of Remote Sensing, all the professionals, students, and all the participants to this session, which is organized by Indian Society of Remote Sensing on the occasion of Earth Day talk. A very good morning and very welcome to all of you from IIRS Dehradun. Well, friends, as we know, even though the Earth Day was on April 22nd of this month, but as we say that each day is an Earth Day, so still we thought that it is pertinent that we can call this an Earth Day lecture, and we are not that late also, so still it is better be late rather than never. So today's talk, I will be talking with you and sharing some of the work which we have done at IIRS and other ISRO centers on the space observations which we have acquired during this lockdown period. And the title of the talk is Space Observations on Detoxing of Earth during COVID-19 induced lockdown. Now, detoxing of Earth is a very interesting term, as we know that if there are contaminants in your body, you need to detox your body by doing some kind of upvas or brata, which is a typical Indian tradition. By the activities of human beings, our Earth also, especially the atmosphere of the Earth as well as the water in different water bodies, has got contaminated with all kinds of pollutants. And this opportunity was given because of this pandemic and extraordinary situation that in India as well as across many countries in the world, we were forced to go in the lockdown conditions, and this has provided a unique and rare opportunity for Earth to detox, because our activities, the human activities, has become bare minimal because of very serious and grave situation which has been caused by this global pandemic. Now, if you look across various Indian cities in last 1 month or so, you will see a phenomenal change in the environment around yourself. Now, I have tried to capture this through these pictures which are available on various media platforms. The first image which you see over here is our India Gate in New Delhi, and this is how it used to look during the month of November 2019, when Delhi faced a severe air pollution problem because of various factors which was local as well as regional in nature. But the same India Gate was looking very bright and clean on March 30th, 2020 because of sudden stop or pause in the anthropogenic activities caused by this lockdown because of this pandemic. This is another image of Churchgate, the famous icon of Mumbai. And Mumbai, all of you know, is a very crowded place. And these cities, as they say, the Mumbai never sleeps. And most of the time of the day and night, this area will be full of activity and roads will never be, free. But this is another important thing which you can see. The atmosphere appears very blue, and of course the roads are deserted because of the lockdown. This image is of Haridwar, the famous Har Ki Pauri, and you can see the flow of the water in the river Ganges looks very, the color looks very blue or purple or turquoise blue, and of course you don't see any human activity around it. This has also given opportunity to wildlife. The wildlife and wild animals have been spotted around various parts of the cities, various parts of the country in different cities. This is an image of Kerala where the elephants were roaming, and I can tell you even here in Dehradun, in the vicinity of Rishikesh and other smaller towns, people have observed a lot of wildlife onto the streets. And of course, this image is the famous Kanyakumari, beach, and this also you can see the color of the ocean as well as the color of the sky looks almost matching, which probably in this part of the world is a very rare occasion. So what we can say that this very difficult situation because of this coronavirus induced activities, it has provided a pause in Anthropocene. Now, what is Anthropocene? The scientists and the researchers have termed the era in which we are currently living as Anthropocene, which is also can be considered as a part of Holocene period, which started around 10,000 years ago. And essentially, the earth processes and various activities, especially the natural phenomena on earth, are basically getting affected by the human activities which we are doing onto the earth surface. This beautiful satellite image, which has been captured by some of the very high resolution, low light detection satellites in space, gives you a idea about the night light activity in Asia, Africa, and parts of Europe. So as you can see, these are the areas, especially the North Indian area or the Indo-Gangetic Plain, which also comprises parts of Pakistan, then Indian Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and going all the way up to Bangladesh, looks to be a highly densely populated area, even with any comparison within other areas of India. Then there are second hotspots of human activity in the parts of China, and then of course there is a large amount of scattered activity in Eurasia, and then we have these hotspots of activities in Europe. By and large, Africa does not have much of human-induced, activities, and that's what we can say that how we have changed. Even you can see the shipping lanes over here. So many of these shipping lanes, they also contribute to the pollution, especially the pollution in terms of enhanced NO2, SO2 along the shipping routes. So I was just trying to explain that due to this event, there is a sudden pause in the Anthropocene, and this has caused basically the lower carbon emissions, cleaner air, cleaner natural water bodies, wildlife taking over, and some of these phenomena are so significant in time and scale that many of these impacts are also seen even from the spaceborne observations. So during this talk, we would like to have a quick look at what we have observed from space. Essentially, what we have observed that we saw a significant reduction in air pollution, which also especially we will be talking in the Indian context. Of course, these type of phenomena has been observed globally also, especially in China and Europe and the parts of Americas. But in this talk, we will be mainly focusing on the observations which we have seen over the Indian subcontinent. So the one clear-cut, observation which has come out even from the ground-based observations that the air pollution has significantly reduced. If you see the data which is basically being collected by different air quality stations across India, we have seen a dramatic fall in the nitrogen dioxide levels. They have almost plummeted by as high as around 50% or so in major cities. Especially there are reports that in Delhi and other big cities of India, the air pollutants like PM 2.5, PM 10 and NOx has come down at least by 50%. Similarly, the other pollutants, especially the smoke, the volcanic, of course, we don't have this type of situation in India, and the ground level ozone, which is also a significant pollutant, has also come down at various locations. Now, if we see that what we can observe from space, space-based satellite images provides us the opportunity to get information about what we call as the particulate matter, which is basically represented in terms of aerosol optical depth. So in this image, what you can see, a very clear-cut band of atmospheric aerosols, which has been, are persistently seen spreading all the way from the parts of Pakistan, coming to the Indian Punjab, and then going all the way up to Bihar, and then emanating through the West Bengal and going all the way over the Bay of Bengal areas. So such type of data sets can be used to estimate the column concentration of aerosols. Similarly, whenever we have these episodes of biomass burning, especially during September, October, the smoke caused by this, the crop residue burning can also be observed from space-based data sets. Then, apart from this particulate matter, which basically is characterized as aerosols, which constitutes both PM 2.5 and PM 10, we can also have observations on the gaseous pollutants. So the gaseous pollutants like nitrous oxide, sulfur dioxide, and of course the which is caused by the forest fires also, that also is now amenable from space, and we have sensors like Sentinel-5P Tropomi sensor, OMI sensor on NASA Aura satellite, and of course GOMS satellite, which basically provides good amount of information on the gaseous pollutants. So we can get a fairly good idea about the particulate matter variability in space and time through aerosol measurements, as well as the gaseous pollutants like nitrous oxide, ozone. Of course, this ozone is total column ozone. We need to see that how much is the contribution of the surface ozone, and then you have the sulfur dioxide and other trace gases which can be observed from space. So I'll just, for the benefit of the viewers, those who are new in this subject, I'd like to just give you a basic elements of that these aerosols, even though they are very tiny particles, when we say PM 2.5, most of the particles, their radii is less than around 2.5 microns. PM 10 is around 10 microns or so. So these are all micron size particles. They are even so tiny, but they are potent air pollutant. And the satellite images basically can get this information by a process called scattering and absorption of the sunlight. So the sunlight, as it passes through this atmosphere, scatter large amount of energy from this particulate matter, as well as some of the aerosols, they have the absorptive capability also, and then many of these scattered data sets are essentially captured at satellite altitudes. Now some of these aerosols, especially the particles which are less than 2.5 micron or so, they can go through our the nasal system, and then some of this will basically go and infect our lungs in a very adverse fashion. Especially the polluting gases like NO2, etc., they also cause large amount of damage to our respiratory system. So that's why the persistent pollution, and if people live in persistently polluted air, they have a probability that their lungs may suffer a significant amount of damage, and they become more vulnerable to some of the disease which are related to the respiratory system. Now from the satellite observations, the satellites typically operate at around 700 to 800 kilometers, especially the polar orbiting satellites. And then we have this geostationary satellites which operates around 36,000 kilometers from the surface of Earth. So these satellites, they see the total column of atmosphere. So the particulate matter, mostly it is confined to the surface layer, and then it also can get lifted around to heights of 2 to 5 kilometers. So we get a total column integrated observation of these pollutants. Of course, with these observations, especially with the satellite imagers, we really don't get the vertical distribution of these pollutants. We get what we call as the column integrated effect of these pollutants. Some of these pollutants, of course, they reside very close to the surface, and they correlate very well with the surface data sets. Now, this one particular image which we are showing over here, which has been captured by BORDIS Terra satellite, is a global composite which has been captured in the month of February. It's a monthly global composite of aerosol activity across the world. So if you take a closer look onto this image, the aerosol concentration can be scaled between 0 to 1. If you have 1 aerosol optical depth, that means the atmosphere is has high concentration of particulate matter. And when you have aerosol optical depth very close to 0, you can say that the atmosphere has very less amount of particulate matter present in the air column. So if you look into this image, you will find a lot of hot spots, or the what you can see is the red areas or the orange areas. And if you look, these areas are basically in China, in the eastern part of Asia. Then of course our northern part of India is highly dominated by particulate matter, which many of you must have also experienced. Similarly in Africa, also because of large amount of Saharan dust, which basically gets emanated from the deserts of Africa, and of course in this case large amount of biomass burning takes place in February in and around the forest systems of Africa. All this high aerosols, they even travel over the Atlantic Ocean, and some of this pollution even reaches to South America, and in certain episodes it can also reach all the way up to the North American continents. So these are the hotspots of high concentration of particulate matter across the world, and we need to worry that in India, especially the north part of India, what we call as the Indo-Gangetic Plains, these areas are continuously throughout the year experiences high concentration of particulate matter. Now, we during this period, especially the period starting from March 25th, especially when the official lockdown was announced, we started making observations during this period. So here are the two maps, which is basically showing you the Moody's derived aerosol optical depth at 550 nanometer. This is the peak wavelength in which the human eyes are most sensitive. So this is the situation during the 15th to 24th March of 2020. So you can see that aerosol concentration are relatively higher. They are towards the red side in the provinces of Punjab, Haryana, Delhi, UP, Bihar, and all the way even in the northeastern part. Then simply if you take the average of the aerosol concentration from 25th March, and of course this is the first week of April, you see a clear cut, a very significant reduction. This red color changes to the yellow color. And the aerosol optical depth values, basically they drop significantly from 0.6 to, let us say, around 0.3. So this means that there is a significant, almost 50% drop in the total particulate matter at many places in the North Indian region. Similarly, city-wise, Kolkata also showed a significant drop, and then all other cities, Ahmedabad, Mumbai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai, all across India, of course, except some parts of Maharashtra and Orissa, where the high AOD values were seen because of some other phenomena which was happening. Especially there was biomass burning happening in Burma or Myanmar, and that smoke was traveling towards these areas. But most of the part of Indian continent, it became relatively free or relatively less polluted in terms of particulate matter pollution. We can say that on an average around 18 to 30% reduction was observed at a country level at various locations. The most affected area, or where you can see the particulate matter has dropped significantly, was the North Indian plains or the Indo-Gangetic plains, where these concentrations remain usually high throughout the year. Now this is the comparison with the same duration last year. So what was the situation last year, 25th March to 5th April 2019? You can see these colors, especially here in the eastern part of the country, eastern UP and the parts of Bihar. There was significant amount of particulate matter, and that matter also seems to have, if you compare the situation during this period in 2020, there was significant reduction in aerosol optical depth during the cities when compared to the last year during the same period. So the seasonality effect also has been accounted for, that because the particulate matter can also have large amount of seasonal variability, especially you must have seen that during the month of September, October and November, there is much more higher pollution in the northern India, and relatively this is much lesser during March and April. Of course, the last few weeks of April, again, in certain parts of the country there is a biomass burning, especially the wheat crop residue is burned. That also leads to raised air particulate pollution. But during this period last year, this is how the situation compares. So we can conclude that compared to the last year and compared to the previous weeks, there was a significant reduction in the particulate matter all across the Indo-Gangetic belt, especially parts of Punjab, Haryana, Delhi, UP, and Bihar, Jharkhand, and the parts of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Now, if you see the weekly variability, now this we have divided started from 26th February to March 5th, 2020. This was the situation. The parts of North Indian Indo-Gangetic plain, even parts of the plains in Punjab and Sindh of Pakistan, they are basically having large amount of particulate matter, as you can see, which is depicted in reddish colors. Then when you come to March 6 to March 13, there was certain reduction, And then when you see the March 14 to March 21 situation compared to the week in the February, there is significant reduction. And as we come to the week of March 30 to April 6, the lockdown started somewhere around March 25. So there is another lag period is also there. But during this week, we observed a very significant reduction, and this entire, the red or orange part has become almost yellowish white. So the maximum drop in the particulate matter was observed during the week of March 30 to April 6, where the the lockdown was enforced very strictly all across the country. And then, of course, from April 7 to April 14, we started seeing some more increase in the particulate matter. And then April 15 to April 28, especially in parts of Bihar and the eastern UP, we could observe that there was an increase in the aerosol optical depth, which we can interpret as increase in the particulate matter. And of course, as we know that from April 20 onwards, there was certain activities which were allowed, especially the rural activities were opened up. So as we can see from these charts, the maximum amount of drop in air pollution was observed during March 30 to April 6 period if we analyze the weekly data sets. Now this is the animation of the same data sets, the weekly data sets, and you can see that this week suddenly there is a drop in the particulate matter concentration, and then it comes up in the parts of eastern UP and Bihar, especially during the month of second or third week of April. Now the drop in aerosol was so significant. If we plot for this whole box the average aerosol optical depth values starting from 1st January and then going up to the 15th of April, you can see the particulate matter or the aerosol optical depth values were of the order of 0.8 or so. And then, of course, there were episodes of low and high values, but there was a systematic reduction trend. And as we approached, we were here around 25th March or so. So the values, basically, they dropped from 0.5 all the way to 0.2 or so. And then after the second week of April, they started rising again. This, mind you, is the average of this box which I have depicted over here. So this is the overall average of the Indo-Gangetic Plain activity. And you can see that there is a significant drop in the aerosol activity around this period, that is the week of 30th March to 6th April. And this is supposed to be known as what we call as the historic low. In fact, 20 years of observations of space data has not shown 0.2 aerosol optical depth in this part of the country. So the air was so clean. This image which you can see is a satellite image of North India. What you see in the green color is the vegetation, and these are the forest systems of Himachal Pradesh. Here you can see Jalandhar city, and these are the Himalayan range. This is the Dhauladhar range of Himalaya. In fact, many of you must have seen that people have taken pictures from Jalandhar and they were able to see this Dhauladhar range. This is the picture which I have taken from the social media platforms. And the air was so clean, you yourself can see the particulate matter is not at all present. There is no haze in the satellite image. The visibility around 200 kilometers were so high that people were able to capture the mighty, snow-capped mountain range of Himalaya, sitting all the way in Jalandhar and all. So the reason was that the aerosol concentration dropped historically low during this particular period, which enabled this type of fantastic views from many North Indian cities about the Himalayan range. Now, similar observations you must have also seen. Many of you must have seen this report, which has been, done by some of the colleagues in NASA. And this was published on NASA Earth Observatory very recently, where they have shown that airborne particle level plummeted in northern India significantly low, in fact 20 years low, and the similar observations were made by them. This orange color shows the aerosol optical depth activity starting from January. As you can see, it was as high as 0.7, then it peaked sometime in March, and then this was the period of lockdown, and suddenly you see that there was the AOD values were dropping significantly, and they became almost less than 0.2 or so in the first week of April, and this is the average of 2016 to 2019. So you can see that during this period, especially when on an average last 3 years we had aerosol optical depth values of 0.4 or so, it has become less than 0.2, so almost a 50% reduction in particulate matter, and this is the anomaly of this particular observation. So all this blue color shows you that there was a reduction, which is around 50% or so all across the Indo-Gangetic belt because of the minimal human activity. So what Lassen tells us? It tells us that during this period, the most of the air pollution in terms of particulate matter is essentially can be attributed to the human activities, which includes large amount of transportation. In fact, around Delhi city itself, there are thousands of brick kilns, which basically produces bricks for the construction industry. Around there is a transportation activity which significantly produces large amount of particulate matter. There is other industrial activity which also produces particulate matter. Then of course there are natural phenomena like the large coarser particles like dust particles which are of the order of 10 micron or so. That normally happens due to natural phenomena like dust storms, etc. But the lesson which we found, or what we can say the takeaway from this observation, is that most of the air pollution during this period, especially in terms of particulate matters, if it has subsided so drastically within 10 to 15 days of stopping the activity, it can be attributed largely to the human activities which we are doing on these scales. Now, this was about the particulate matter, which basically we can see and visually see in the air, and which basically reduces the blueness of the sky. But there is another pollution, factor, or another pollutant which becomes part of the air quality index, and that is called the gaseous pollutions. These gases are basically the molecules of different gases, and we cannot see them with our naked eyes, but they are there. Some of these gases you can feel by the presence of the odor which they have, but many of them are basically odorless also. So using space data by a methodology called spectrometry, or the differential absorption spectrometry, people are able to measure the concentration of these trace gases from space also. So the satellites, they detect backscattered energy in ultraviolet, visible and emitted thermal part of electromagnetic spectrum, and this is the solar spectrum which we receive at the Earth's surface, and these small lines which you see, they are basically the gaseous absorption lines. So there is a line here at around 760 nanometer, it's called the oxygen absorption line, and then there are lines for the water vapor, carbon dioxide, methane, ozone. So at different part of electromagnetic spectrum, there are different absorption line of different gases. So if we can design a spectrometer which can basically calculate or which can measure the backscattered energy in what we call as the ultra fine mode, or what you must have heard about hyperspectral observation, but these are all hyperspectral observations. We can get certain idea about the concentration of gases by a principle called the differential absorption principle. Here you have two wavelengths, one wavelength which is not absorbed by the trace gas, let us say lambda 1, and another wavelength which is basically absorbed by the trace gas. If you take the differential of these two wavelengths, the scattered energy in these two wavelengths, you will be able to detect those particular gases depending on the spectral range in which these gases are sensitive. So this is the sensitivity region of different gases. So for ozone, we have a spectral sensitivity in the ultraviolet region around 250 nanometers. Then for SO2 around 300 nanometers or so. NO2 we have a long range of spectral sensitivity starting from the ultraviolet and then going all the way up to the visible part of electromagnetic spectrum to 500 nanometers or so. And similarly for many other trace gases, there are spectral windows which are basically well established, and what you can say that these are the fingerprints of these gases which they leave in the atmosphere. So if we can detect this very fine radiation as part of what we call the hyperfine observations, we can basically invert this data and calculate the gaseous concentrations using the space-borne sensors. The advantage is that you get a global view, you get a large area sampled very quickly, and then you can have very quick temporal assessment of this gaseous pollution all across the globe. Now, if you look to some of the instruments which for these trace gases measurements are done from space, we have a good heritage history from ESA satellites. We had this you know, the famous Skiamaki satellite, which became defunct later on. And then this has a spectral range from 240 to 1750 nanometers. Then on NASA Aura satellite, there is another instrument called Ozone Monitoring Instrument, OMI. This is basically giving very nice data on NO2 gaseous pollution, which operates from 270 to 500 nanometer spectral range. And currently, we have this a new satellite from ESA, European Space Agency, which is called the Sentinel-5P. P stands for precursor. There will be another Sentinel-5 series of satellite, and there is a sensor called TROPOMI, and these has two spectral bands, 270 to 775 nanometers, and then 2300 to 2385 for methane. So these spectral channels, they are spread across UV to almost infrared part of electromagnetic spectrum, and depending on the sensitivity of the gas, they can be used to detect the different type of gaseous pollutant over the surface of Earth. Now, if we see a very important gaseous pollutant, which is called nitrogen dioxide, NO2. So nitrogen dioxide is an important air pollutant because it contributes to the formation of photochemical smoke, which can also have significant impact on the human health. And the predominant source of the NO2 in the atmosphere is that in the forest fires or any other kind of fires, industrial and transportation activity, and of course there are thermal power plants which emanate, which releases large amount of nitrogen dioxide due to the burning of coal. And some of these observations, as you can see over India, using this OMI NO2 retrievals, which was of course at a coarser resolution, 25 by 25 kilometer grid, but this ESA's TROPOMI satellite, this is a very nice instrument which provides NO2 concentration at a much higher spatial resolution grid, which is around 7 by 7 kilometers, and you can see the city-specific air pollutants very clearly when we make observations from TROPOMI-2 data sets. So we'll show some of those observations from these satellites over India during this period. Now, this is a global view of the NO2 pollution from Sentinel-5P TROPOMI instrument. So if you see the global activity or the global hotspots of NO2, you can there are very clear-cut areas which emerges. It also depends on the industrialization of this activity. The northern part of China, some other hotspots in China, they are the major source of NO2 pollution. Then you have this industrial activity in Europe, the northern part of Italy, especially Milan and northern provinces of Italy. Then of course Germany, parts of France, then London, South England, and of course the New York area. Then you also have the Chicago and other cities in US, and of course the certain cities in the west coast of US. And of course when we come to India, you can see that all across the Indo-Gangetic belt, because of the remember the first slide, the density of human population, which was depicted by night light image, maximum activity, human activity or anthropogenic activity takes place in this area. And you can see the hotspot. This is Lahore in Pakistan. This is Delhi area. And then you have Bombay and then other big cities. But apart from these big cities, you also see large amount of NO2 in the atmosphere because of the the static sources. Essentially, they are the thermal power plants which are located in the eastern part of our country, and they contribute significantly because of the coal burning which happens in these thermal power stations all across, especially which is confined to the eastern part of the country. And of course, you can see the data is so sensitive. You can also see the NO2, which is basically released by the ships in the ocean. So these are the shipping lanes. This is from Sri Lanka all the way going to Singapore, and then these are the other shipping lines. These are the shipping lines from south of India going all the way to the Gulf, and then of course from the Africa, South Africa, and of course the European region. So the satellite is able to capture even these feeble amount of NO2 from space, where you can see even the shipping activities. Now, if we take a look at what was happening in India during 25th to 31st March last year, so you can see these is hotspots of NO2 pollution around big cities like Delhi, Mumbai, and of course large amount of NO2 in the atmosphere was there because of the thermal power plants. And suddenly, as we stopped the human activity, the city-based pollution, especially Delhi, Ahmedabad, Mumbai, even South, Bangalore, many of these cities, those hotspot regions have, they have got banished. So only the static pollution, which was basically due to the thermal power plants, because we were still generating enough electricity, and this map is a map which shows the thermal power plants where installed capacity is more than 2000 megawatts or so. Many of them are concentrated in the eastern India. They were still the source of NO2 pollution. But the NO2 pollution, because of the human activity, has significantly come down, and that was also reflected in the ground observations, which was captured by many of the air quality stations all across the country. Now, similarly, this is in the first week of March. Then this was the situation in the second week of March, then third week of March, and of course the last week of March, where the lockdown basically was forced, and that you can see yourself there was a significant reduction. And of course, this is the month of this is the week of 25th to 31st March. Here, if you observe in Myanmar, there is a large amount of NO2 still present, but this is because of the forest fires basically which are burned in this area, and the forest fires also produce a large amount of NO2 into the atmosphere. So the takeaways from this data, even with respect to the previous years, 2017, 18, 90, you can see the situation during this period. In 2020, you can yourself see a significant drop in the atmospheric NO2. NO2, remember, is a short-lived gas in the atmosphere. It basically dilutes pretty fast. So if you are stopping, the sources of NO2, you will find a much cleaner atmosphere pretty rapidly compared to many other long-lived gases in the atmosphere. So the tropospheric column NO2 showed significant decrease during 2020 as compared to the previous years, and major city emission hotspots were clearly visible in 17, 18, and 19, and they disappear during this period in 2020. However, the power plant-based emissions are still visible over Chhattisgarh, Orissa, and Andhra Pradesh, and that's what's a clear-cut indication of the amount of pollutants which we are putting or emitting into the space due to the anthropogenic activity which we are doing. Now, this was the data from a coarse resolution OMI satellite. So if you look into the data sets which is higher spatial resolution, coming from Sentinel-5P TRPOMI, you can see this is the image of April 1 to 6, 2019, last year, and these are the big hotspots. This is Delhi, this is Ahmedabad, this is Surat over here, then Mumbai, and then Bangalore, and then of course this thermal power plants over here, and then the other activities, which basically produces less amount of NO2, but they are basically done by the humans, but they all vanishes. They vanish during this period in 2020, and only the static, source of pollutants could be observed. In fact, some of the power plants, especially in North India around Delhi, also were shut down because the electricity demand also reduced because of less industrial load, and that also showed up in the satellite images. This is an animation starting from 15th of March, and you can see that this hotspot, how they vanish once you come close to around 20th of or 25th of March. So this, you can see this is the image of 29th, and many of these hotspots, especially over the big cities of India, they vanished. But as we come into the second and third week of April, again, it appears that the anthropogenic activity have started picking up, especially in the rural areas. There are, patches, especially now you can see over here in parts of eastern UP and Bihar. This is around, Agra region. It appears that there was certain activity during this period. In the rural areas, you have the crop, which is basically the wheat crop, which is harvested, and probably it appears that certain places people are burning this wheat residue. Maybe it can be attributed to less number of laborers or etc. But this is being shown up in rural areas that high NO2 levels were seen in the third week of April when we compare from the first week of April. So this is a very interesting observation that we can say that the lockdown was strictly enforced during first week of April, and subsequently, these images show that the anthropogenic activity has increased as we were approaching around 20th April and so, especially in the rural part of the country. At the same time, many of you must have seen these beautiful images were also released by ESA, the satellite operator, European Space Agency, where they have also compared the situation from 1st January to 24th March 2019 and 25th March to 20th April 2019. You can see this was the situation last year, and then you can see this is the situation, this year, and especially we can see the drastic change in the NO2 pollution from 25th March to 20th April. I'll show you this high resolution image. So here again the same data set, of course, much observed during a much longer period and filtered for various spurious signals. So this shows up also very clearly a remarkable reduction in the city-based pollution, especially the NO2 pollution over Delhi. Here is the Lahore city, this is Karachi, this is Mumbai, and this is Ahmedabad, and all big cities except the areas where we have the large power plants located in the eastern part of the country. Of course, Chennai is a mystery. Why Chennai was still showing at the same level NO2 production? That is a thing which we need to look into, that what was really happening in Chennai, because this comes out to be an exception compared to the other big Indian cities. Now, these are the observations over those power plants which we were talking. This was the situation last year. You can see a three-dimensional image. There were large spikes over here, and then these spikes were still there, but the spikes over Delhi, Mumbai, and the cities, where basically the NO2 sources was mainly due to the transportation and the small local industries. They subsided dramatically. In fact, there are certain reports where people have shown that within 10 days of lockdown, India consumed 20% less of power. The electricity production also reduced almost 20% or so, and many of the smaller power plants, they were shut down. Only the bigger power plants were generating electricity. There is a very nice report by SERA agency, I think a non-profit, non-governmental agency, which has also done a very nice work in showcasing the reduction in city pollution. So this is Delhi situation from 11 March to 24th March, and then this is how the Delhi was looking from 25th March to 7th of April, and they attributed this mainly to the reduction in the electricity generation. So this is a plot which shows that around 300 kilometer radius from Delhi, how the electricity production was reduced significantly as we come from around 27th March or so. Similarly, Bangalore and Mumbai also shows up very nicely in these high resolution images, that how local pollution over the cities plummeted. But over the parts of MP, Orissa, Jharkhand, and Bihar, where we had this big power plants, and of course the electricity production was not that significantly reduced, we still can see the persistent NO2 pollution. Now, the main drivers, as per this report, for the reduction of NO2, they have analyzed the total consumption data, and they saw that LPG consumption was almost it increased 2%, but other hydrocarbon based pollutants, they reduce significantly. Look at the high speed diesels, etc. Their demand, because of the shutdown of transportation as well as industries, the coke, the petroleum coke, the bitumen coke, these consumptions were drastically reduced, and overall they found that the overall hydrocarbon consumption in India, which basically leads to emission, reduced around 18% or so, and that led to this reduction of NO2 in the atmosphere over Indian cities. Very nice and interesting observations. And similar observations we saw. We have a ground station here in Dehradun where we are making observations of NOx, which is nothing but NO plus NO2, and there also we can see that in 2020 in blue color, after 25th of March, there was a dramatic reduction in NO2 compared to the previous days, where the normal level was of the order of 20 to 30 ppb, and then it dropped to 10 ppb or so. These are the CPCB data sets for Mumbai, Delhi, and Calcutta, and then you yourself can see there was a significant reduction in NOx production. On the average 60 to 80 values, they basically come down from 25th onwards to almost less than 20 ppb at many places across the country. So we have the ground observations and the space observations, both are on same pace, and we can corroborate these observations at local as well as at the regional level with these data sets. Now, another interesting study which I found that recently has been published, in fact it was published last week also in a journal called Science of Total Environment. And very interestingly, they have found correlation between high NO2 regions and the mortality rate in the COVID or 19 fatalities. Especially, they have analyzed the regions. A special analysis was conducted on regional scale by combining the number of death cases which are taken from 66 administrative regions in Italy, Spain, France, and Germany. And the results show that out of 4,443 fatalities cases, 3,487, that is 8% of them were in the 5 regions located in North Italy and Central Spain. And these are the regions, you can see from this NO2 data, they are the high elevated region of NO2. This is the Spain area. You can see these hotspots in Spain, and this, Milan and the northern part of Sargamo area of Italy. So this is the plot where the NO2 concentrations are plotted, and you can see when the NO2 concentration range is 100 to 300 ppb range, the mortality rate or the death rate is much higher compared to the other regions. So this is a very interesting study where people have found the correlation between the gaseous pollution and the mortality rate. What is believe that NO2 is a persistent exposure to NO2 is pretty bad for your lungs. It basically weakens the lining between your lungs, and which basically your lungs becomes more susceptible to infections, and you become more vulnerable to any kind of respiratory disease if you have a high exposure persistently in your environment to NO2 emissions. So even in India, we are finding, it may be a good coincidence, but of course if you put data, especially cities like Mumbai, Delhi and Ahmedabad, where the NO2 levels which you saw from these images are pretty elevated throughout the year, and the mortality rates are also very high. So this is a new research which is happening, and many people probably will like to work in these areas, especially to see the effect of virus fatality, not spread, but the fatality, if you have more exposure to polluted air in your areas. So these were certain observations, very interesting observations about the atmospheric pollution which we could see from space. We also saw certain examples, especially in our rivers, because the reduced human activity, of course the shutdown of industries and their effluents into the river channels also led to cleaning of the river water. So this is the example of water turbidity changes in Ganga River near Kanpur. So this is the image before the shutdown. This is on March 19, 2020, around the Kanpur city. You can see the water color is blue over here, but it becomes much bright or white because of the particles present in the water, and they do more scattering of light. And this basically is attributed to the pollutants which are put into the river, and they contribute to the increasing turbidity of the water. But if you make observations on the 4th of April on same area, there is a surprise that especially after this barrage, the water has become much blue in color. This means that the particulate matter which was present in the water was doing less, was less, and we observed less amount of scattering from the water in this part of Ganga River around the Kanpur city. And we converted this data into turbidity values. So you can see this is a qualitative turbidity. This is the blue color shows low and the red color shows high turbidity. And there was a big surprise that the entire channel, the turbidity level dropped significantly when we compared from March 19th to the April 4 scenario. Similar observations were also seen at different stretches of Ganga River in Haridwar. Of course, in Haridwar, the pollution problem is not that significant because Ganga, after Haridwar comes into the plains. But even then, even in Haridwar, we could see there was a significant drop in the turbidity, which basically means that less amount of particulate matter is present in the river channel. Similarly, in Chapra, in Bihar, also the similar observations were found. And of course, the very interesting case of Sangam in Prayagraj, the old, Allahabad, the situation was very, very nice, that on March 24th, when we had this satellite overpass, this is how the turbidity patterns looks like. This is the Ganga river, and this is the Yamuna river coming, and then this is the Sangam area. The Yamuna is relatively less turbid compared to the Ganga even before the lockdown, and but after the lockdown period, you see the turbidity or the particulate matter in Yamuna dropped significantly, and even in Ganga. And after both the rivers they meet at Sangam, the water also was much was less turbid compared to what it used to be earlier compared to this situation. So this type of observations are maybe further required. This is only two days comparisons, but we are working to see that how the situation is progressing even in the later parts of the April month. Now, similar observations, a lot of people have reported from Haridwar and other places. Even there are videos on social media and photographs where people are able to observe such changes in the water. In fact, quantitatively also, other parameters of water quality like dissolved oxygen, BOD, etc., also being measured by Central Pollution Control Board, State Pollution Control Board, and they also similarly shows a reduction in the some of these pollutants in river stretches. So that's what we got. Of course, many of you can think of doing this similar work in your areas, in the stretches where you have proximity and you would like to do similar type of work. This has opened up a very nice opportunity. This current lockdown summary, if I have to summarize all these observations, this lockdown period, even though we are all passing through a very tough period because of this pandemic, but it has provided nonetheless a unique opportunity to generate baseline data during minimal anthropogenic activity, and which is a very rare occasion that stopping almost 1.3 billion people's activity in one go, probably it is unprecedented, may not happen ever. So this was a kind of an experiment, you can say, that we conducted in terms of environmental science, that we could see that if we have most minimal human activity, what is the baseline level of pollution. So if you have PM 2.5 at 35 microgram per meter cube in Delhi, with minimal activity, you can consider this is baseline data, and then that becomes a reference data for times to come. So both ground-based data as well as space observations are very important, and we should preserve these data sets and catalog it, publish it, so that this can be used as baseline data for further studies. Now, this reduction which we have seen in air and water levels all across the country is only temporary, because these measures are basically of temporary nature. Nobody wants to shut down the human activities, and these drastic steps of shutting down of economy has led to these clean airs. But of course, it's not sustainable. We have to come out of this situation, and we have to come back to what we call as the normal life. But we can think that if we do stop or we put a break on of our activities, the nature has this capability to bounce back within 10 days. It has not taken years altogether. Within 8 to 10 days, we could see a drastic reduction and the efforts which nature has taken itself to clean itself, which is a big takeaway and big lesson from these observations we get. And this current crisis has shown that the clear skies and breathable air can be achieved very fast if we take concrete actions towards reducing burning of fossil fuel and the associated things in future. So we may come out of lockdown, life will become normal, but what measures, what policy decisions we should take so that we get the right to live in the breathable air. Many of our cities, they are among the most polluted cities in the world, and naturally this experience has shown to all our citizens that what can happen if we take positive actions, and which can basically improve our environmental conditions or the living conditions. I would like to end just by showing you this photograph, which you yourself can see the visible changes. This is the Rashtrapati Bhavan, which was captured on March 24, 2020. And of course, this was captured on April 2. Remember, on April 2, we saw the minimal aerosol activity or minimal particular activity. And that led to a large amount of Rayleigh scattering in the sky. And that's why the sky appeared much bluer compared to the mean scattering of light when you have large amount of particulate matter present in the, at this case, the Delhi or the presidential palace. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope that you must have enjoyed some of these observations, and these observations have a lot of takeaways and has given us a lot of lessons to conserve and to preserve our environment for future and also take care of our health. Thank you very much.